Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops Cold War in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the Stoner 63 LMG. I'm going to go ahead and finish out the LMGs and some of the less popular weapons before moving to assault rifles, and this one pretty much seems like it was named for me. The Stoner 63 is, in my opinion, quite good in certain modes, and I think the anti-vehicle barrels are very fun and underrated as well. It's just probably not the best choice for 6v6. It's a pretty challenging gun to use in 6v6, especially with the skill matching the way it is, but one thing I wanted to show you right off the rip here is just look how fast I can kill a tank with the Cavalry barrel equipped. Look how fast that health bar is going down. This tank's not going to last very long. I didn't even have to use a whole mag on it, and tanks are some of the most difficult things to shoot down in the entire game. You can absolutely tear through UAVs, counter UAVs, helicopters, and almost any kind of streak in this game or small vehicle will not hold up to cavalry barrel fire from not just this LMG, but any of them, so it's good to keep in mind. The Type 63 bullet velocity is 675 meters per second, which is the fastest in the LMG class. It's just a smidge slower than where most of the tactical rifles are. It's a lot faster than SMGs and still quite a bit faster than assault rifles, so you've got quite good bullet velocity to work with here. However, I think you may still need to boost your bullet velocity for extreme range engagements. If you're going to be playing in Warzone or on larger maps and things, there are some times where your bullets are going to start traveling a little bit slow and dropping a little bit more than you want, so if you want to use the weapon properly, you might want to consider that. So let's talk about proper usage, and the best place to start is with damage. It'll kill in between 4 or 5 shots, or I should say 4 or 5, it's only 1 shot difference no matter what. And the damage profile is 42 up close and decreasing down to 32 at long ranges, and those long ranges are very far away. Headshots will grant you 1 less shot to kill at all ranges, so they're always worth going for if you can squeak some headshots in. I usually don't. I should. I feel like I play on PC a lot now, so I feel like I should be good enough to do that, but Call of Duty has just trained me year after year to go for body shots and just wait for somebody to shoot me so my gun, flinches upward for the headshot. But I'm still a sucker for body shots. Headshots are better though. Don't be me. Be smarter than me. The maximum damage range is 51 meters, which is extremely long range. This is much longer range than most of your engagements on any 6v6 map, and honestly quite a few more of the engagements on the combined arms maps. Like, that's stupidly long range. And outside of 51 meters, you're going to need 1 more shot to kill, and that's it. You probably won't notice it a whole lot. It's a very consistent and efficient weapon. Speaking of efficiency, we're working toward that time to kill calculation, guys. The Stoner 63's rate of fire is 722 rounds per minute, which is pretty fast, and definitely the fastest in the light machine gun category. The other LMGs have a slightly slower fire rate, and honestly, this one shoots a little bit faster than most of the ARs and quite a few of the submachine guns, so it's not a slow-firing weapon. It's kind of a high-damage bullet hose. If DPS calculations were more important, like this were a PvE game, it'd probably be near the top. But let's take a look at time to kill calculations, because that's what matters in Call of Duty. The 4-shot kill range time to kill is 249 milliseconds, and your 5-shot range time to kill is 333 milliseconds, again assuming no headshots and you don't miss. If you get headshots, it kills quicker. If you miss, it kills slower. But that is a fast time to kill right there. This gun kills faster than any of the assault rifles and most of the SMGs, even at point blank. Really, the only weapons that kill faster than this are some of the more goofy burst weapons that have stupidly high damage, like the KSB or the AUG or something like that, and of course insta-kill weapons like sniper rifles. But this gun is top tier in terms of time to kill. It will shred people. It will put them to bed, and I think that's what makes it so good in Dirty Bomb, is it's almost like they don't even have armor. It just tears right through it. The handling stats on this weapon are very unusual in my opinion. The aim down sights time is 666 milliseconds, which is just very slow, and you absolutely will notice and feel it. When you try to like round a corner and snap aim on somebody, that's gonna be doing a fat lot of nothing. You might as well just go brew yourself some tea while your weapon's trying to aim down sights. It's really slow and painful sometimes. However, the sprint out time is really fast for this kind of weapon, and even comparatively fast to SMGs at 266 milliseconds. So it's an overall slow handling weapon, but it has an oddly fast sprint out time, and that made me think that maybe the Stoner is supposed to be the small map, a little bit more close quarters kind of LMG. Maybe I can try to build a Russian class with it and kit it out with ADS and sprint out boosting attachments, but it never quite worked well. I mean, just the base stats were so low, if I ran into anybody with an SMG that had those same attachments, they would just be able to react and kill me quicker. The one good thing about this is that you can hip fire into ADS quite well, and you might even see a few gameplay clips of that, is that you can pull the trigger and just let the hip fire hipfire go while you aim down sights, and the hipfire, as we'll talk about in a little bit, is tighter than normal. So you'll probably squeak in a couple of shots while you're working on getting that accuracy. However, in my experience, building a hipfire only class won't work against shotguns. A lot of Call of Duty games allow you to kind of kit your weapon out, or LMG I should say, to just kind of run around and hold down the trigger and hipfire everything. It's not really working very well in Black Ops Cold War. The weapon has a faster than normal LMG reload time at 6 seconds, but that's still very slow. In a game like this, that's a very long time to be out of combat. I strongly recommend some kind of reload boosting magazine attachment, because that's just a little bit too slow, even if it is the fastest among the light machine guns. Now back onto this hipfire thing, which is kind of weird. Standard assault rifle hipfire, which is kind of what we're comparing everything against, the 7.5 milliradians. However, the Stoner is a little bit tighter at 7 milliradians. As a matter of fact, the RPD and M60 have the same rating, so all of the LMGs have better hipfire than all of the assault rifles, at least with their base kitting, which is a little bit surprising. So if you do well with AR hipfire, you'll probably do a little bit better with LMG hipfire, though it's still not within the range that I'm going to say it's traditionally good. The recoil on this weapon can be very high or very low depending on your attachments. If you go for a pure speed build and don't do any recoil boosting attachments, it's relatively high. The gun kicks up a bit, it's difficult to control, but almost everybody, myself included, is running a lot of attachments and using this one as more of a long range weapon, so you only have to put a couple of attachments on there and it almost becomes a laser. I personally prefer it in low recoil mode. I like putting on various muzzle attachments and grips and things that make it lower recoil because it's just way easier to use at long ranges. Speaking of range, let me talk about my overall rating for this weapon. Full auto assault rifles are probably a lot better for 6v6 because of how much faster they handle. When it comes right down to it, yes, the Stoner 63 kills faster than them. However, it's only got a little bit more range and a little bit more bullet velocity, so I don't think it's going to have a huge advantage there. And its huge disadvantage is that very slow handling time, slow movement speed, slow shooting moving speed, slow reload time, slow sprint out. Well, actually sprint out's pretty good, but it's still not like an accurate to shooting sprint out like an assault rifle. You're going to be giving up the majority of your time to kill advantages if you run into somebody and have to do like a quick draw gunfight. The only way that this is really good in 6v6 is for anchoring, holding down, camping, something like that. And that's just not really the play style I have. However, the Stoner is much better in combined arms or fireteam dirty bomb because you're not as likely to have people rush your face and you have to rely on your speed of the weapon. As long as you can sit back, the Stoner will pummel people at long ranges, brutally, savagely so. I can pick people off, I can pick off snipers in combined arms stupidly easy. I love it on Fireteam Dirty Bomb because it deals enough damage to the point where it almost feels like my enemies don't have armor. It's one of the more popular weapons in that mode, and I imagine that's going to carry over to Warzone too. So if you play 6v6 as a camper, yeah, it'll probably be fine, but for everybody else, the big modes are the way to go. And I'm recording this before Warzone is released, and I'm not in any early playtest or anything like that. However, just given how it performs and how Battle Royales and Call of Duty Battle Royales work, I expect that it'll be a good weapon in Warzone too. The iron sights are not my cup of tea. I prefer optics. I find the foresights to be a little bit small, the gas ejection animation to be a little bit punishing, and most importantly, this is a weapon that kicks upward noticeably without the recoil attachment. So when I start shooting, sometimes my gun kicks up and I lose track of what I'm shooting at, which is the most frustrating thing in the game for me. I usually put some kind of optics on it. Now let's talk about my favorite class, and this is, you're probably going to see a very similar one for the RPD and M60. It's basically a long-range LMG class that'll work very well for you in almost every mode. This is the class right now, of course, you've been looking at it. The first attachment is this good old SUSAT multi-zoom. I love this sight. I think I'm going to recommend a slightly different one for the RPD, but I'll run this on almost every gun every time. It's nice, it's clean, and it gives me options. I like the SOCOM Eliminator barrel, mostly because it gives me a huge amount of vertical recoil control. It just doesn't kick upward as much, and I do take that horizontal penalty, but we're going to fix it later. It does a little bit of muzzle flash concealment too, which is nice. In the barrels, there's really two ways to go. I'm going to show you two barrels today. You can choose whichever one you like. I like the last barrel because it gives me a little bit of extra damage. That's nice in Fireteam Dirty Bomb and against vehicles. Doubles my effective damage range, which will put me at, I don't know, like 100 and some odd meters. And doubles my bullet velocity, which makes it shoot stupidly fast and drop off very, very little. And the only thing I lose is some ammo capacity. I'm totally good on that. I think that this is an awesome barrel that makes the overall lethality of the weapon way higher. However, it's pretty lethal as is, so if you don't need that, the Cavalry Lancer barrel is also really good. It doubles your damage against vehicles. It already has a high base damage against vehicles, so as you saw earlier, you can shred through tanks, you can shred through trucks and cars and anything on the map. You can just, any score streak, any sentry turret, you can just brutalize with this thing. As simple as it is, I think it is a really good like 50-50 alternative to the high damage barrel. Since I'm doing long range, I kind of like the Ember sighting point on this particular weapon. I get a little bit of reveal distance, a little bit more red names, seeing the dots, seeing people through the bushes. I get a huge hipfire accuracy too, which is nice for a weapon that already has good hipfire accuracy. The only downside is I take yet another penalty, 2 of them actually, to my handling, which is kind of rough, but I'm not really trying to rush people anyway. I'm going to run the Field Agent grip to cut that vertical recoil more, and it gives me just a colossal amount of horizontal recoil control. So far, I really haven't found hardly any grips on any weapons that are better than the Field Agent grip. That's just the god tier one. When it comes to magazines, I prefer the 100 round speed mag. That gives me enough bonuses, and with only very, very minor ADS penalty, it works really well for me. I would recommend it over any of the later mags in this game. And we're going to be using the Airborne Elastic Wrap so that I can drop shot if I want to. A little bit snappier on the ADS, which is the hardest part, and I don't flinch, which is incredibly important at long ranges, though I do take another L on the sprint to fire time. So you would think that in the stock section, I would recommend the wire stock or the combat stock or Raider pad no stock maybe, but I actually like the tactical stock. I like the aim walking movement speed because I'm going to be ADS with this one. I'm going to be sliding up and down over head glitches and dunes and hills and kind of corner peeking. So being able to aim while walking quickly is beneficial, and I think that is a really good final attachment for the weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of In Depth. If you did, and if you learned something useful, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.